And so I've just started recording. So unfortunately, and stupidly on my part, we missed the first, I don't know, 5 minutes of this particular presentation because I wanted to be able to have you be in a position to maybe share it with somebody on your staff or somebody in your office that you may want to start to become a sort of subject matter expert in your office when it comes to Google. I think Google is that important. I really do. And I don't mean to leave out Bing and I don't need to leave out Yahoo, but they are very, very insignificant when you get into statistics. Google is the owner of search for the moment, particularly just general search, and you want to be friends with them. You really do. I hope that makes sense. As I've said, I'll try to show you some examples before we leave. And you have my email. I'll go back to that before we leave. You have my phone number. And if you want some help really getting this set up, if there's anything you take out of this meeting this morning, do this. Set up, at the very least, your Google My Business account, understand it. Set up your Google Plus account, understand it. Make sure your maps and your analytics are linked in. And then don't worry about the AdWords. We'll talk about that in a minute. I know some of you wanted to talk about that, but AdWords is a completely different animal. And AdWords is now where you're paying Google to put you at the top of the page for a specific set of keywords and or a key phrase. Now, the gigantic mistake in that, and I'm going to pause here for you, it's a mistake, and that's why I don't like AdWords Express. Don't go spend money on AdWords if you don't have and understand a conversion path in place. And what I mean by that is where most monies are lost is people will buy AdWords. They'll pay good money for it, and they think the click is what they're buying, and that's not what you're buying. The click is only going to bring that prospective new patient to a destination. And if you don't have the destination in place so you can convert that, then you're wasting your money. And once again, that's a topic in and of itself, but I hope that you understand what I mean. And what they'll do, and you need to be careful, when you set up a Google My Business account, they'll make it very easy for you, and they have you introduce your credit card in there. They'll make it very easy for you to just set up an AdWords Express account. Say, oh, just click here and we'll bill you, $5 a day, and we'll put these AdWords out there, and we'll just lead them to your website. Don't do it. So let's move forward. So that's number one, being friends with Google. And certainly, as I said, if there's anything you walk away from this meeting, that's the most important thing you can do. And then we also wanted to talk a little bit about what is this thing, basic SEO? What is SEO? How does it work? And I will tell you, I think that this is the #1 scam in the business going on out there right now, is these people show up and they say, oh, we'll do your SEO and we'll set you up. We'll get you #1 ranking on Google. We'll do this, we'll do that. And they want a few $100s a month, and you really don't understand what they're doing. And the fact of the matter is that traditional old SEO died about 3 or 4 years ago. And what I mean by that is there was a time when everything surrounded a keyword and your ability to take that keyword and place it inside the meta tags within your site pages and try to convince Google that that's what you were about. There was so much scamming on that Google's algorithms, they've had a number of them since that time, have changed dramatically. Google now evaluates the context of the content. Let me say that again, the context of the content, so that they can determine what that searcher or what that search is about, because they want the person that's searching to actually find something that's relevant to that search. And so they've gone far and away from what was once the traditional SEO or search engine optimization. So let's talk about, at a local level, a local dentist with a website. What are the things that you really need to be worried about? Now, if you look on the right there, and I'm sorry about this kind of mess, but what I did was just take a screenshot. This is actually of Coral West Dental. This is a very, very effective, optimized website and business, okay? And you can see that by what we have here. Now, in all fairness, the search is actually on their name, but most of the time, if you do a search on your practice name, you're not going to get it to show up like this unless you're already doing a very good job. But so what this is actually referred to as a SERP, and a SERP stands for a search engine results page. And at the top, you see what the search is about. So anytime that you put in search criteria up in the top in the search bar, Google's going to try to figure out what it is you're actually looking for, and they are then going to drop that in order of ranking so that you can find what you're looking for. So in this case, we did Coral West Dental, and what are the things then that we want, and if I were going to work with you, that I would look at so that I could help you rank better, not just for your own name, but for a number of different search criteria. In this particular case, what I want you to take note of, and I'm going to, let's see if I can get my little pin here, is here. In this case, this is the page title. And it's very important because it's telling Google what this page is about. In this particular case, this is their home page. You can change this. You can adapt this. If it's not doing well, you can rename it. You can do different things here. So it's extremely important that on every single page of your website, that the page title is optimized for the content on that page. And as a dentist, that's really important because you can have pages for implants, you can have it for teeth whitening, for cosmetics, for children's dentistry, for toothaches, root canals, and on and on and on. And it is very often that we will find a dental practice that has a number of different site pages, but none of them are optimized. And so that even hurts them because now Google has no idea what your website is about or what the different pages are about. You also see underneath that in green here is the actual URL. So that is actually the site page. And when you build a website, it's extremely important that that URL also is relevant or as relevant as you can make it to that particular page. Now, you can't always do this, obviously, because oftentimes these URLs are taken, but it's important. This, then underneath it, if you see this text here, that's what's called the meta description. And you can generally tell when somebody knows what they're doing because the meta description will be just enough to fit there, the whole thing. And that's what this is. And we've actually even got a phone number associated with it. So when this comes up, it shows with a phone number. When your site is well optimized and has pages that are well optimized, you'll always also get what this is here, which is referred to as a site extension. And then it even gives you here the ability to click and get more information on just this particular dentist. And all of that is because the website itself, the pages themselves, the content themselves are all optimized. And if a guy comes in to see you that wants to talk SEO and wants to talk keywords, and he's not talking what I'm showing you here in front of you, get rid of him. Okay, he's just, he's probably been doing this out of the back seat of his car for the last 5 years, and he's using strategies and things along that line that don't work anymore. So what I'm saying to you is we don't want these old school SEO guys. You want somebody that understands these principles here. And that's, how do I get an effective page title? How do I make sure I have the best URLs associated with my pages? How do I know how I can change my meta description and keep it within the number of words and the description that's going to optimize that particular page? What is an H1 title tag? So an H1 title tag, that is where the keyword is very important, and that should be the headline, if you will, on the page itself. So we'll take a look at one of those in a minute, but this is another piece where people miss it all the time. And H1 tells Google that that's the most important piece of content on that page. Google recognizes what is referred to as cascading style script. And so someone that's building your website, if they don't understand how to apply this, will leave Google confused. And remember, all Google is a computer and a set of algorithms that goes out and scans all of these sites worldwide and then indexes them on a very regular basis. And if you don't get indexed properly, they're going to be confused, and you really are simply, you're simply not going to be able to rank properly, and you'll see yourself just fall off the map. Alt tags are extremely important, and again, something that somebody who understands and knows anything about SEO should understand. Alt tags are taking a picture and applying content to that picture. So once again, when Google is scanning a page that has photos, you're telling Google what those photos are. And let me tell you, this is amazing. And I'm going to use a sort of a silly example here, but an important one. People more and more today are actually seeking information through video and photos as much as they are through the actual written indexed listings like this. So we have one of our accounts, we actually have several different, but one of them that we have is a pest control company. And they're located here near us in Northern California out in the valley. And the valley is having a problem with bed bugs. So we have some bed bug pages for them, and they're doing very well. But what we started to find was that the path to these pages many times was occurring in the middle of the night. And what they were coming from were the alt tags on the pictures. And what we were really able to surmise in this particular instance was that people were getting up in the middle of the night and they were seeing these bugs and they were panicking, as I would, and they were going to Google and they wanted to see pictures of these things to see if that in fact was what they were seeing in their house. And so I tell that little story to you to just emphasize how very, very important it is to do the whole job. And in this case, we're talking alt tags, and that's to make sure that the pictures in your on your page work. And I'll show you in a moment, if you don't know that, I'll show you in a moment how you can use your mouse to just hover over that picture to determine whether or not that picture itself is optimized. Then you have content. This is a big deal. I'm going to just say this, and I'll switch a little bit over to our discussion about the website, which is next. One of the biggest problems I see in the small business world today, and especially in the area of healthcare professionals, so dentists in this context today, is that they will use graphic designers and I'm not, um, I don't mean to be critical of graphic designers. My wife is a graphic designer. But graphic designers, there was the natural transition when websites came into play in the early 90s. And prior to that, most businesses were using graphic designers to do most of their advertising, which was outbound, which was direct mail, which was ads in the yellow pages, ads in the local newspaper, etc. And these graphic designers were getting squeezed out as the internet was coming along. So they all went and took a night class on how to do websites and moved and transitioned themselves into website design. And their experience around content was really more copywriting. And they could often satisfy the dentist in this case because it looked pretty. It was a nice looking website, you know, looked like a nice brochure, and it was written in a way that looked like a handout brochure. Now, Google is a computer, and Google isn't looking to be advertised to or sold. Google is looking to understand what's on that page and how to index it so that search people looking to find out an answer to their question end up on the right page. So that's why when I say here content, and this is on a page for SEO, content is really relevant to the algorithms that Google uses to search and index that information. And then what I'm going to do here, I have this here, and this was probably as much a reminder to me as anything else. This is a good transition into the next slide. But I have here conversion opportunities. And a conversion opportunity, what that really means is all this stuff at the end of the day should lead them to a, not necessarily your homepage, maybe your homepage. It may lead them to, in this case, schedule an appointment. It may lead them to the emergency page because now all of your pages are going to be optimized so the right one shows up. But it's going to lead them somewhere, and they should be able to convert. And convert means either get some more information and trade that information for who I am, vis-a-vis an email, or set an appointment. What we don't want them to do is just come and look around and bounce and leave. Now, number 3. So let's transition a little bit away now from your search engine optimization, which I hope I've made it a little bit clear and haven't confused you too much, but you see why some of this stuff does each independently require a deep dive. But now let's talk about social media importance, okay? And I just headlined this. If you don't have a social media strategy, you're just slowly bleeding to death. And I say this because, first of all, let me make this clear. I'm in my 50s. So I'm an old guy that started in the industry before there was Google, before there was social media, before there were even cell phones, okay? So I've had to learn this stuff the hard way, the same way as many of us, watching young people, watching my own children, etc., grow up on social media. And let me give you just some numbers here. They're staggering, okay? They literally are staggering. So Twitter has 313 million users. Instagram has over 600 million users. Facebook, which is the granddaddy, in which I will focus most of my social media effort on for dentists, statistically, they have 1.23 billion users that log in and use it every single day. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, well, I'm in XYZ city or location, so what does that have to do with me? I see I'm not the only young guy in the crowd. No matter how you slice the statistics, And I promised myself today I wasn't going to bring a bunch of stats. I get tired of those marketing meetings where everything's stats and they're just trying to blow your mind. But social media, let me just say this. Everybody's on it. Everybody's on it. And it's a very, very different animal. So let's really talk about, at a very high level, sort of scratch the surface, what does that mean? Well, first of all, in your office, it needs to be fun. And social media needs to be part of your daily office routine. You need to ask for reviews. Flat out, you need to be asking for them, and you need to be providing an easy way to get them. Why is that? It's really easy, and it's now become sort of the draconian sword of the consumer market to go tear somebody up when they've done something wrong. And trust me, you don't want one bad review, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, but it's very hard when people like you and they love you and you're doing a good job to get them to tell anybody. So you have to provide that opportunity. Now, what I will tell you is, and I've shared one on the right here, there is a number of different apps that you can use, free ones, different ones that you can actually literally have in your office, an iPhone or an iPad that's for the office use, and you can do fun things with your staff and with your patients. You may, depending on what you're doing, need a photo release, and I've got different examples of them, some that are drafted by lawyers and others that are just made up to essentially make sure that, especially if you're going to show a child in a picture, that at the very least you have something you could say, well, the mother said it was okay. I'm going to show you, I have this kind of a couple of these bullet points are note to self. I'm going to show you also how you can create a review link. And a review link is something you could use, say, for example, in an email that goes out, and when they click it, it doesn't go right to your Facebook page for a like, which is not what we want. We want the review. It goes to the Facebook portion of your page so they can instantly review it. So they don't have to go figure out how to give you a review. We can give them a link that says, hey, we'd love to hear how we're doing. Now on the right there, what you'll see, and this is a friend company of ours and somebody that we are maybe going to partner with. It depends on the cost associated with it. We like to be able to provide things at a reasonable cost, not outrageous. But the concepts are there, and it's called My Social Practice. And one of the things they do very simply is they will create, and then we do this with some of our own clients, little placards, and the marketing company will send this out to the dental practice, and they can be for different things on different months. For example, we just had St. Patrick's Day, and then slightly before that we had Valentine's Day. But you can create these kind of fun little plaques, and what you can do, especially with your patients, is you can have them, or you can use their phone to take a picture of them, and then you ask them to share it with you, to check in, and then also to tag you in it. Because what we really want with social media is we don't really want our message on our timeline all the time. Social media is a funny animal. We're not advertising. In the end, the best social media ad you could get is one of your patients posting one of these silly little placards that says, I love my dentist, and all of his or her friends seeing that and saying, I really don't like my dentist, or we're really looking for a new dentist. Who is it that you use? That's what we really want out of social media, is the engagement and the awareness. It's not an advertising place. And that's, again, social media strategy, extremely important. Facebook advertising, the best buy on the market, bar none, and that's because they've just introduced business advertising in their portfolio in over about the last 18 months, and so they're easing their way into it. But what you can do with Facebook that's so different than what you can do with Google is incredible. You can create what are referred to as custom audiences, and think about having a filter with all of the information that Google has for the people in your own location, and be able to create that audience, whittle it down, and put some information right on their timeline on their Facebook page several times a day, every day. If you know what you're doing with that message, you can create more leads, more prospects than you can with a Google AdWords campaign that may cost 3 times that amount. And I say that from somebody that is doing that every day. So number 4, what makes a good website? And I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly because, again, this is something you almost have to assess individually. But some of the things, if we just take a quick look, and this is Coral West Dental. Do you want a beautiful website that looks like a coffee table brochure? And once again, I talked about that a few minutes ago. Well, we really don't care about what the website looks like. I don't mean that to imply it's not important, but it isn't. And the way you think about it is, if you have an average-looking website that generated an astounding number of new patients every month, or you've got a fantastic website that's beautiful, but nobody looks at it, which direction would you go? Now, obviously, we want to be able to do a little bit of both. But what I'll try to emphasize here, and we've been on about 38 minutes, and I said we'd go about 45, so I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. But we want to ask these questions. Does your website have a conversion path? Are you a leading dentist in your market area? Do your site pages rank individually? Can you track and count monthly your traffic and your conversions from your website? And do you have a blog? So what does that really mean? So let's take a look here, and we're showing this. I've got the drop down there. And the reason I wanted to show this is each and every single one of these pages is a door to the business. And if in fact you have everybody coming to your home page, then your website's not working. What we really want would be, for example, here, let's just pick out oral hygiene. If I'm doing a Google search on gum disease or periodontics or oral hygiene in the individual problems, excuse me, I do have gum disease here. What I want them to do is land on this page. I want them to see that page. I want to see the proper content. I want to also have the proper offer on that page. And what is an offer? If you look down here, and there's 3 more, and I'll show you in a minute, but these are offers. What are offers? They're very simply short ebooks that if I'm not willing to make an appointment, if I'm not sure about you and what you offer, if I'm just in the awareness stage and seeking out some help, well, then I can actually download that. I can give you my email, download that. I can take it, print it, read it, and do whatever I want with it. That introduces them into what we call lead nurturing. Once again, that's a very deep topic. But what we want to do is when somebody is just looking around, we don't want to just have them look and leave. We want to stay in touch with them. We don't want to solicit them. We don't want to stalk them. We want to very gingerly nurture them along by giving them information and letting them know that we're a great dental office and we provide a lot of service. Then we talk about a blog here. Oftentimes when we talk about a blog, people, 1, they may not even know what it is, or 2, that it just seems like it's a waste of time and energy somewhere where you're actually going and just writing and submitting that out into the big black hole. What a blog really is, it's an indexed site page that you're adding to your website. It comes out with a URL, and Google sees it whenever you add it and sees that as new, fresh content, and will actually give you a better score in what is referred to as your domain authority as a result of that. The problem comes with blogging is when blogging is not done in a systematic, strategic fashion. When you blog, your blog title and the content and the conversion path all need to be synced together towards what an individual who's searching may be looking for. So let me give you an example. With my years in the Yellow Pages, one of the most effective blog articles we have, and you could type it in wherever you're at, is how much money should I spend in the Yellow Pages? And if you read that blog article, it's not even written all that well. I wrote it in 2012 when I started to write blog articles about the Yellow Pages, as the Yellow Pages was completely defunct. It really weren't working for most businesses any longer. And now that blog article ranks #1. When you go and you read it at the bottom, it goes to one of our content offers, and we have probably generated a couple of $100,000 in revenue from that blog article. That's how important a blog article can be when it's done properly, when it's done strategically, and when it's done with a conversion path in mind, which is ultimately to score a new patient here. #5, something that I know some of you even asked me about, is protecting and growing your reputation. So first of all, do you monitor the social media review sites? If you don't, you need to, and there's actually a lot of inexpensive software out there that can help you in that endeavor. But let me tell you what we run into, and let me encourage you not to fall into this trap. We talked a little bit earlier about the tendency by consumers, if they're upset about something, to do a bad review. And that happens far more regularly than the number of people who are thrilled and happy with your service and don't really feel inclined to do anything. So, I'm looking at this. That's terrible. I apologize for this. I have a copy of the content from the previous slide. But what I want to tell you here is that, and I'm going to show you an example of, don't wait until you get one bad review that now is showing up in ranking #1 to try to figure out how do I get rid of it. There is no way on the internet to get rid of a bad review. That is, unless you can find the person that wrote it and get them to take it down, which is unlikely. The only way you can deal with bad reviews or a bad reputation is to ensure that today, beginning now, that you start to get good reviews. Now, let me show you here on the right. So here, if you just take a look at this, on the right here, and this is actually a secondary third-party applications, a software application that Dr. Rubel is using here. And if you look at it, what you'll see is they have 286 reviews with a 4.8% overall star average out of 5 stars. So here, do you think if he got one bad review, so one one-star review, is that going to mean anything? Absolutely not. I probably wouldn't even move that 4.8. Now, if you look down here below, this is actually one of Dr. Rubel's friends that they went to college together with, and I've talked to him and we've worked with him a little bit to try to help him with some of this stuff. But if you look here, Dr. Raj here has one star review or a bad review, and I think this thing's 3 or 4 years old. And so this is a search, this second part down here, on his name. And what you see here is his site's optimized pretty good, is coming up. But #1, right here on the top, is a bad Yelp rating because he has one review with 1 star that's probably 3 or 4 years old, And I believe it's even questionable whether or not this was actually a patient or not. So how do you fix that? What do you do? You know, do we scream and do we cry? Do we call Yelp? Because all Yelp's going to do is try to sell you advertising to get rid of that. No, what you have to do is you have to have a strategy to go to your existing patients every day and say, look, do you like us? Do you love us? Would you help us? Would you tell Yelp that? And there's a lot of different ways to do that, but you have to do it. You can't be subtle about it. You have to ask your patients that like you to give you good reviews, and most of them will understand in today's day and age that that's important. Now, this company up here, just to give you an example, there's different, this is called Doctable. I don't necessarily like third-party organizations, but if you're lazy and you don't want to do a social media strategy, if you're not going to ask people, then you need to do something. If you look down here below this, what Dr. Raj here is doing, he's using a company called birdeye.com. And these are organizations that what they do is they have software that essentially solicits from each and every one of your patients, particularly new ones, did you like us or not? And that's designed specifically to get you good reviews. Now, you can see that still doesn't take care of this thing, the Yelp review, and he needs to do something about that because that's going to haunt him. You don't want that to be sitting out there. You want to get that corrected and taken care of. And then last but not least, I'm going to hit very, very quickly on this because this is not a conversation we can have here over coffee in 5 minutes. But marketing automation is really, in my instance, in our company, we transitioned a few years ago away from being an old school advertising agency and a company that did things the old way, which was outbound, to an inbound content agency using software to automate that process. And there's a lot of software out there now with a variety of different companies, but it all really pretty much does the same thing. And what is that? That is to automate the process of delivering content out there to the world and doing it in a systematic way that what you're trying to do is move them through the buyer's journey, or what is referred to as we see here as awareness, consideration, and decision. And so I'll just say it very quickly to see what we wrote here. Awareness. In this stage, we just want to inform it is the stage that the prospective new patient is merely seeking basic info. For example, they may have just moved into the area and know at some point they shall need a local dentist. And the buyer persona, really the number one buyer persona for a dentist, is the lady of the house. And we know that through a lot of detailed analysis. You really want to reach out to mom. She's going to make most of the decisions, especially in a family environment. The consideration stage, this is where they may now be near the time for a checkup. Knowing that may prompt a more vigorous thought process towards finding a dentist. It could also be maybe I've got a toothache, I cracked one of my fillings, different things now that are going to say, I'm more than aware, I now am considering. And then there's that decision process. Now that they've gone through their awareness stage of consideration, they know I need a dentist. I need to find somebody now. So I'm going to ask a friend. I'm going to do a Google search. I'm going to respond to an advertisement. But now I know I've got to go to the dentist. I've waited as long as I can. I'm going to go. This process can be automated so that you use software, you use content. You use content like this here, so that what you can do is take this content and put it in a way so that it's driving people's awareness to consideration and consideration to decision. And I've just labeled out here a number of things that could be in the top: emails, newsletters, white paper, blog articles, maybe a social media kiosk in your office with opportunities to share, a top of the funnel premium content offer. These are things that you need to build a content inventory, if you will. In the next stage, the consideration stage, you can take a look at videos, maybe doing an educational webinar of your own, having a new patient kit, testimonials from happy customers and patients that you have. And then finally, the decision stage is really going to boil down to making an appointment and maybe having the ability to give them their insurance packet up front so they can do the things they need to do, so when they show up to the office, they're ready to go. And this is referred to as marketing automation. This is referred to as a sales funnel. It's referred to as the buyer's journey. A lot of people call it a lot of different things, but what you're really trying to do is set up your online presence to deliver patients to you all day, every day. While you're asleep, while you're awake, it's in the background working on your behalf. So last, as we get down to an end here, we're at 50 minutes, and looks like some of you, most of you have stayed. Good. Let's take a look at just what we've talked about. And as I've said, if you need even just a little bit of consult, you can use my email, send me some questions. If you have someone on your staff that you're going to maybe delegate to do some of these things, let me know and I'll help. But you want to get your business, your Google business account set up. That's important. I would take a look at G Suite and just see if that's something that you think should integrate into your practice. If you're using Lighthouse or some of these other things, keep in mind those are really billing applications in which they've added on, things to try to supplement them as a marketing tool, but they're really not. Take a look at your basic SEO to ensure you're being indexed correctly with Google. That would include your page titles, your meta descriptions, H1 tags, alt tags, as well as your page content. Very important. Put a social media strategy in place in your office. Do something, and I promise you, in your staff, they probably know what to do better than you do. Just be careful to protect yourself, and particularly if you're going to have some photos of children, maybe get a photo release sign. You might even need something. You might need an office iPhone, iPad. Maybe you can look into a kiosk or other devices that you can use with your patients and staff. And it may seem silly, it may sound silly, but let me tell you, it works. It works quickly, and it will spread the word about your practice. Just make sure that your practice is friendly. Make sure that it's something people are going to want to share with other people, and that may take a hard self-evaluation of your own practice. Are we a fun place that people want to go when you consider the fact that nobody really wants to go to a dentist? Review the best practices for your website, your blog, your site pages, your content. If you have offers and conversion paths, landing pages, do you have any? Those are things that you really need. And as you progress forward in an online strategy, your website is the central hub. Everything will revolve around that. If you don't have a reputation strategy or a review strategy, start today. Don't wait for that one time someone gets upset and writes a bad review, and now you're trying to figure out how am I going to get rid of that. You can't. The only thing that you can do is statistically outweigh it. So that means that you want to have 10 good reviews every time someone puts in a bad review, and that bad review will have little to no impact. And as a side note, you need to go claim all those pages in places like Yelp, like Facebook, etc., so you have control over them, so you can also respond, and you should respond if someone gives you a bad review. You might want to consider a marketing automation strategy that will engage with your new patients, nurture them, and provide them useful information ongoing. You never want to stop. All the time, we want to make sure that they know who their dentist is, that they like him or her, and that they are telling other people about that relationship they have with their local dentist. There's lots of software, lots of different things that are coming up every day to help you with that. So with that, I'm going to really kind of finish up here. We did it in 55 minutes. It's a little longer than what I wanted. It's just, guys, there's a lot of stuff to cover here. And so I can really only go, as fast as I can go with this. What I will do here is I'm going to, and you can, any of you that if you need to go, just go ahead and go. I'm going to take one last thing where I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm just going to show you a couple simple things here that you may or may not want to take a look at. So first of all, just from this is a Google My Business account, has several locations, and this is really what it looks like when it's set up. And you see here the verified, the fact that the actual business is verified. You see some of the different widgets that you can link up: insights, reviews, analytics. YouTube is a very important part of it. There's an AdWords Express. If you then even move forward here, this is that Doctable. That's a review site. This one's set up for Dr. Rubel. You go in there, you set this up, and this will start to generate positive reviews. That's what they do. This is another software product called Bird's Eye, or Bird, excuse me, not plural, Bird Eye, something you may want to consider as well. And then last but not least, I'll take you to the Coral West site and just let you look at it. So here is the site. Let me get to view the actual size. And you can see here are 3 of 6 different conversion offers and how do they work. So if I want to find out about gum disease and I don't want to necessarily make an appointment yet, I can click, I can come here, I can give you a little bit of information. I can download this document and read it. And by doing this here, we then introduce you into what we call a workflow or a nurturing campaign, where we start to talk with you. We'll share more information. We're not soliciting, we're not being obnoxious, but this really, really helps to eventually turn into a very good resource for continual, ongoing new patient growth. Okay. And I think really with that, that's as fast as I can go. I hope that we've helped you. I hope that you tell other people that we've helped you. And with that, I guess we'll end this. And thank you very much for joining us today.